And our updated wide receiver rankings and our updated tiers with rookies from the 2025 rookie wide receiver class. And today, to do these updated rankings, I've got our friend Matt English here. Welcome back, Matt. How we doing today?
Doing pretty good, man. It's a good day in the birdhouse as usual.
Always fun talking wide receivers. Wide receivers are the the position in Dynasty that really you got to start with your wide receivers in your Dynasty rosters. They fill, generally speaking, most scoring formats. They fill the majority of our rosters up. If you're talking best ball, for me personally, they fill the majority of my roster. Like I'll have almost nearly half of my roster wide receivers, and yeah, it makes a difference if you have a bunch of elite wide receivers, generally speaking. Now, there's ways around that, and that's why we're going to get into these tiers for you for your startups and help you organize going into your drafts where you should look for those tier breaks and where the barometer is like for how many guys you want above this certain level and get into those strategies. So all right, Matt, I know you love your certain wide receivers. We're going to get right into it. Let's bring up. So, the last time I did my updates, it was just after the NFL draft, and I didn't add in the rookies quite then. We're going to do so now. And so, back then, it was May 7th, and I had just slightly moved Puka up into tier one. I felt that he was there near Chase, Jefferson, and Lamb in his production and with his youth. I felt he was tier one. Now, I do want to move Malik Neighbors up into that tier one. Matt, where do you have Malik Neighbors in your
I have
tiers?
Malik Neighbors at wide receiver 3, just ahead of CD. And it's not, I mean, we can be nitpicky with this, but I mean, Malik Neighbors put up insane numbers with garbage quarterback play. And now he's got quarterbacks that can actually spin a football. Um, so I think that does nothing but help improve him. Um, and like I've said in previous shows, I love CD Lamb. So it's not a knock on him. It's really just more of a reward to Neighbors.
Yeah, I mean, you can argue CD Lamb or Malik Neighbors here as the wide receivers 3 and 4. I don't care either way. I just look at it like if you're putting Malik ahead of CD, you might as well put him ahead of Jefferson and Chase then, because you're part of that is to do with the age. Um, Now these guys are all still young and they're right in their prime. Chase, Jefferson, Lamb. So that's why I have them personally 1, 2, 3. But yeah, if you want to put Neighbors third, I'm totally fine with it. And even honestly, if somebody took Malik Neighbors as the first wide receiver off the board in a dynasty startup, I wouldn't have a problem with that either. I I love Malik Neighbors. Unfortunately, I do not own many shares of him. I think I have one share. I just wasn't in position to draft him in the 2024 rookie class, unfortunately. And so, yeah, I'm a little light on my neighbor's shares. But then we got Puka there. And then when we get to tier two, we're very close. The guys in tier two are very close to the guys on the bottom edge of tier one. Um, I do want to add, I'm going to put Drake London right here on the bottom of this tier because I think that there's good strong momentum for Drake London, let's say. Right, Matt?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're a little bit different here in our ranks, but our tiers are pretty much the same. I currently have, let's see here. I've got Nico Collins at 5, Brian Thomas at 6, Drake London at 7, Puka at 8, and Amon Ra at 9. So
Okay.
um, I don't have Puka in that top tier. I mean, they added a Hall of Famer in Devontae Adams, who's been a red zone monster his whole career. I've mentioned that before. I think that does cut into some of Puka's upside. Plus, Puka comes with how many weeks did he miss last year? Eight
Yeah, he
weeks,
missed a
something
few
like that.
weeks last year.
Yeah. So he's been banged up throughout his career. He takes a lot of like big crash hits over the middle. So I feel like that limits some of his availability, which hurts his production, which is why I have him down a little bit lower. Um, and then Amon Ra I have sunk down because I saw his production dip last year across the board. Jamison Williams emerged, and no more Ben Johnson. So I'm sure they'll still throw the ball. I'm sure they'll still put up good production. I just have a little bit of hesitancy there. Um, and then I put Nico up there because all he had added to the mix was a couple of rookies and an improved offensive line. Um, and and then Drake London's resurgence or surgence at the end of last year when Penix came in, I think was just a nice little brief look into the future. And none of the pass catching pieces really changed there in Atlanta. Still got Pitts, still got Darnell Mooney. So, yeah, I would look to see more of that. So that's why there's some
Okay.
of the differences. Not so much age bound in these changes, more or less situation changes for 25 as opposed to 24.
Sure. So I did switch Nico Collins and Amon Ra based a little off of what you said, and I'm a big Nico believer. I love that stretch last season. If you take out the injury that Nico had, like the guy was on fire and he could easily finish top five. He was on
Mm-hmm.
pace for a top five season. Without the injury, I think if you take his per game total, he was probably top five last
Right.
season. So I'll go ahead and move him up ahead of Amon Ra. Like Amon Ra, I don't know if Amon Ra has it in him yet to move back up into that top tier, so to speak. Nico could, all right, as could Brian Thomas or Drake London. I see that, but Amon Ra, we'll keep him right in the middle there. I don't want to spend too much time. I know you don't either on this elite tier. The key is if you're picking in the back half of the first round, you could easily target two of these wide receivers and get them on your roster and have a very nice start to your dynasty franchise there, because we know
Absolutely.
the wide receiver position holds value well. They're very flexible, very tradable. Everybody's looking for wide receivers. If you throw out any of these top 9, 10 names onto, say, you throw them onto the block, there's gonna draw in. They're going to draw interest for
Oh yeah.
sure. It's not like trying to trade a Brock Bowers or Trey McBride, where a lot of people are just going to be fine with their, Evan Ingram or Mark Andrews and be like, I don't need to upgrade at tight end. I don't need to waste the
Right.
the draft capital or the assets needed to get up to that level of Brock Bowers or Trey McBride. I mean, Bowers is basically worth 3 firsts, generally speaking, and McBride is not far behind him. I mean, especially if you look at the numbers, McBride is pretty much just right there. He just doesn't have that sexy cachet of a Brock Bowers, I guess. Must be the lights in Vegas. I don't know. But anyway, on to tier three. I've got Rashee Rice right up top there. He is the closest guy to moving up into the next tier. As long as he starts off the season hot and everything, I think he will move up into those into that second tier. Then here, I think we want to make a little adjustment here. Now we've got two rookies to add in to this tier in Travis Hunter and Tet McMillan. And you could argue either of those two as the top wide receiver in this new rookie class. But Marvin Harrison Jr., what do we do with Marv here? Lad McConkey's got a lot of steam. I want to move him up. how far up do I put Ladd? Do I put him right at 11 and just
So
flip him with Marv?
I've got I've got McConkey at 10, and then
Okay.
AJ Brown at 11.
Okay.
I'm not near as high on Rishi. I've got like Rishi down at 17. So there's a big difference there in our opinions. But I've got Marv at 12. Um, for that, right in front of JSN, who I have at 13. So we're in agreement there.
Okay.
And I've got Garrett Wilson at 14. But so we've got a lot of the same guys right here. Just kind of
Yeah.
shake up a little bit. And then let's see. I've got Ted McMillan at 15. And then I've got Travis Hunter down at like 22. So that's, and really, I mean, Ted could move up easily into the top 10 after this year, just because there's not a perceived target competition there for him. I think we all kind of see him getting peppered a lot. So if he takes advantage of that, he
Yes.
could be moving quite far up.
Okay. Now I just eliminated somebody. Oh, T. Higgins. Okay. I'm gonna
That's
move.
fair. I got T. Higgins at 16, so that's pretty close to.
I'm gonna put the two rookies ahead of T. Higgins because their upside I think is higher. So I'm gonna put Hunter there. Then we're gonna go Tet McMillan. He doesn't like being called Tet, but for this purpose, I'm gonna keep him as Tet.
Victoria. Okay.
Now we're gonna take DK. We're gonna take DK and Devonta Smith and move them down. Now, I know you're high on Devonta Smith. I'm gonna put him at the top of the next tier. Is what I'll do.
No. Again, this gets into. We can nitpick all we want, but I think we've got guys in the same tiers, so it's just a matter of what you believe should be at the top or what should be in the middle or back end, right? So, I think as long as we're within the same tier builds here, we're probably all right.
Yeah, so we got Rome there at 18 and T. Higgins at 19. There we go. So we got our top 19, and this is where I think you'll see in your dynasty startups, right around the back end of the third to the beginning of the fourth round, you'll see most, if not all, of these wide receivers gobbled up, and that's where we see a definite tier break down to the next guys. Now you can see I have Khalil Shakir. I was really high on Khalil there, but I'm gonna move him down. We'll put Devonta Smith right in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Right at the top there. Now I do need to implement DK in here somewhere. Trying to think where. I'm going to put him in for
DK just ahead of Pickens, and I would definitely drop Waddle.
Yeah.
I'm not super high on any of the Miami pass catchers this year. Just not high on Miami in general, to be honest. And that includes A-Chain. Outside of like Jalen Wright. Just because there's super value built into what happens if A-Chain gets hurt.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now we'll get Waddle.
Everything else, I think you're paying premium on that. I don't know, just won't be realized.
Right. So I took Waddle
last year,
out.
Waddle was a major positive regression candidate, and then he threw in a stinker again. You know? They're saying this. Everybody's saying the same thing again this year. Man, burn me once, shame on you. Burn me twice, shame on me. I don't want to get burned twice by the Waddle train. So.
I'm going to put Waddle in down here for now.
Yeah.
We'll make the adjustment later as we're scrolling down here. Waddle is interesting.
There's a lot of owners high on Waddle, and based on where he's going in drafts, I mean, there's a lot of value built in there. So you might be hands tied into a position to take a Waddle, but it doesn't mean you can't come off of him for a different asset down the road. You know.
Right. Now we do need to add Buka in.
Ooh, man. See, I've got Ibuka at 20, just because I think with his age, his prospect, and the fact I think he'll actually see more playing time this season than some people project. I don't
Right.
think he's a
So
one-off. I think he's going to be
so
playing
do we
this year.
want to put Egbuka ahead of Devontae Smith or behind George Pickens? I think is where he comes in. He either goes ahead of those three or behind them.
Hold on. Well, he goes behind Smith in my rankings.
Okay. I'll put him in right behind Pickens.
Okay. And then, more Godwin. Good. Hey, you get 25 is tough. That's a tough pill to
Yeah,
swallow.
I think I have Ayuk a little high. Definitely higher than what I would take him. I'm not that big on him going into this season. I'm a little scared.
I
He's
would
gonna
put
probably
Jordan Addison where Ayuk is here in these rankings. I'm pretty high on Addison. He was actually perfect right on the heels of this. He was a major touchdown negative regression candidate, and he hit right up to the same clip again. I know he gets a couple of big games to help bolster his numbers there, but keeps doing it. It's done it 2 years in a row. They get a quarterback upgrade, and I don't know. I'm higher on Minnesota's pass catchers coming into this year with J.J. McCarthy at the helm. That kid is. I think he's going to be something really good.
I'm just a little leery of the lingering suspension, so I'm going to have him below Jamison Williams. Jamison Williams and Jordan Addison are basically the same kind of guy, right?
Yeah.
Both in explosive offenses in the NFC North. They both play in domes. I just think that Jamison Williams actually has a shot to steal more of the looks towards Amon-Ra, whereas Jordan Addison is stuck with Jefferson, and Jefferson's not going anywhere. So that's where I'm going with that narrative. So I'm moving Jamison Williams up a little bit up the boards. Yeah, he's been moving up. Now, do we want to move? Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say this is the other thing too. So Jefferson plays the X, right? Amon-Ra's in that slot the majority of the time, right? So it's easier to sucker. Go more to Jamison Williams is my point, based on value, right? So Addison's playing out of the slot predominantly as well. So it's going to be harder to get targets away from the alpha, whereas Jamison kind of slides into the traditional alpha position. And with J.J. McCarthy's abilities and Williams' speed and explosiveness, oh yeah, I think getting Jamison Williams at as the anywhere from the 22nd to the 26th, 27th receiver off the board, I think you're getting great value, especially in best ball. My goodness.
Yeah. Now I see. I'm moving the tier break there because you've got sort of younger guys up above here. I know Godwin isn't exactly young, but I have Godwin. I'm still holding strong on his performance last season in that offense. I think that he's going to be the higher target earner, even over my boy Mike Evans. I just think that he's in line for. I mean, the dude was wide receiver 2 overall before he got hurt last year.
He was killing it last year.
So even if he falls back a little from that to say wide receiver 10 or 15, like that still deserves to be up there because he's not as old as people think. He's not as old as Tyreek or Devontae Adams or Mike Evans, right? He's still, and Tampa did give him a contract, a 3-year deal, even in spite of that injury. So I'm still gonna keep Godwin right there. Now, Tier 5 begins sort of the range with the oldies but goodies here. You've got Tyreek Hill, Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Ayuk, Mike Evans, Terry McLaurin, Devontae Adams, Jalen Waddle, Cooper Kupp, Chris Olave, Courtland Sutton, and then we get further down. But up at the top here, I think I'm going to switch Terry McLaurin and Tyreek Hill.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
All right.
There we go. So I switched Scary Terry and Tyreek Hill, and that's just based off of kind of the market.
Oh,
McLaurin's still going off of last season. He's still holding pretty strong. He's going a little higher than I would like to take him in a startup. But people are still taking him in like the 5th round in startups. So I got to move him up a little bit there.
Yeah, the thing that's scary about Terry is the fact
Yeah.
that he's holding out right now too. Right?
Yeah, right.
I don't think Debo's going to have anything to do with his production there or hurt his production. I will
No.
say this though, I would have Devontae Adams up where well, I'd probably have him above
Instead of
Judy
Ayuk.
here. Yeah, I'm super high on Devontae Adams this year. I mean, if you look at what he's done over his career, especially with the last few years with subpar quarterback play, now he gets Matt Stafford and some of the pressure taken away from the middle with Puka and his operation within the red zone. Man, yes, I get it. He's 31, but he's not. He doesn't come with all those injuries that you've seen with other guys, not major injuries. So I love me some Devontae Adams this year, man. Wherever I can get myself a little piece of him, I'm doing it.
Yeah, I'll move him up. I moved him ahead of Evans. I still have Terry and Jeudy ahead of him. I guess you could
Judy's
put Adams.
garbage, man. He's garbage.
I disagree there. Judy's not garbage. His quarterback play might be garbage, but when he had Winston
I'm
rolling
take the
there,
Steve Smith stance on Judy, man. He just don't got it, man. He doesn't
yeah,
have it.
I take Steve Smith's comments very, very liberally. We'll put it that way.
Okay, well,
All right, so now we get down into here, and this is where we gotta add in some rookies too.
Mhm.
So we've got we just did Ibuka, so now we got that tier of like Golden, Jaden Higgins,
Harris,
Trey
Burden.
Harris, and Luther Burden. We got to decide where to put those guys, and I could clump them in very easily. Just clump them all in right after.
I would say right after Mike
Jalen
Evans.
Waddle.
Oh no, I was going to say Mike Evans. I'd probably right after him, before Tyreek Hill. I'd probably put in Golden, just because. And I actually, I like Higgins a lot.
Yeah.
However, Higgins got Nico Collins in his way, right?
Yeah.
And there's Christian Kirk
Yeah.
that's there as well. However,
And
Matt
Jalen
Golden
Noel.
comes in as the highest drafted wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers in like 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just, there's no real target competition for him. If he comes out and just plays well, he slides right into the wide receiver 1 spot. I mean, I know Jaden Reed's there, and they told his agent he's still the wide receiver 1. That's great. But Golden has the opportunity to be the wide receiver 1. And I haven't seen anything in training camp that would make me think differently, which is why I would have him slightly right ahead of Jaden Higgins currently.
Yeah.
That being said, I think Jaden Higgins is going to be a starter this year.
No, I do too. I think I'm going to put in Jaden Higgins right here, right after Waddle, but ahead of Kupp.
I think that's perfect.
There we go.
He's currently going as wide receiver 37 on the market, so it's pretty close there. I
Okay.
think, let's see, Golden's going at wide receiver 28, so again, not too far off.
No. So then we got Cup and Chris Olave. So Chris Olave is someone that I personally am not high on. Now, I don't know if I should have Cup this high or not.
I'm fine with Cup
yeah,
there.
Yeah, okay. I'm just thinking
I'm fine
Cortland
with Cup
Sutton
there.
I'd rather have too. But I'm gonna take Olave out, and we're gonna plug in Rashid Shaheed there. Because I like, just like you, I like Shaheed more.
Yeah, I do too, but I think I would take Sutton over Shaheed.
Okay. We'll put
But,
Cortland
I mean, you
Sutton
keep
ahead
it
of him.
as is. That's fine. Sutton is Bo Nix's number one receiver. I know Mims had
Yeah.
some big weeks, big spike weeks last year, and they just brought in Pat Bryant. But Cortland Sutton, despite what you think, the man puts up fantasy production. So I would gladly have him.
Exactly. And they didn't really change much to their wide receiver. They added Pat Bryant, but I don't know
Yeah.
how much of a difference he's really going to make. So now we got to plug Trey Harris in here somewhere.
I
I'll
would keep
plug
going
him
down
in.
there.
Yeah, I'm going to plug
Go down
him
a
in
bit.
somewhere after Olave. I just got to change the rankings here
Yeah,
on these,
sure.
the numbers on these guys. So
I'll
Olave,
probably push
be
Olave down
41.
too.
See who we got after here. Well, okay, Quentin Johnson.
Oh,
We can
God,
get rid of
yeah.
him. And we'll just plug in Trey Harris right there. Now, we'll plug him in for the time being there. Now, Calvin Ridley, we could move up. I think he's
No, I think
definitely.
he's fine. I think you need to move Ricky Pearsall way up.
I know
That's
you
not,
do.
Look, man, I'm telling you, Ricky Pearsall's the wide receiver one in San Francisco. To start the year, he'll be wide receiver one. He's the most athletic, and that includes Ayuk. He's the most. He's got the best athletic profile. Let me say that. He's got a great catch radius. He's got some strong hands. He's great after the catch, and as long as he doesn't get shot, I think he'll be all right. I mean, keep in mind, this dude got shot, and then like within a week was in the building, learning playbook and doing everything he could.
Yes.
It's a dude I want. I've traded him where it's made sense to trade him, but when people come knocking asking for Ricky Pearsall, I'm pretty much not listening to that and trying to figure out what else I could put into the deal because I don't want to give up Pearsall. I just think he's a extreme value in the seventh, eighth round that you can grab him. I think it's great value. And he's got first round draft capital. Let's not forget that.
I agree with that. I just don't agree with. So once Ayuk comes back, then it's Ayuk and Juwan Jennings. And if you know how the Niners run their offense, they only have two wide receivers on the field most of the time. So then where does that leave Pearsall? Because
so when
Ayuk has
comes
his
back-
spot and Juwan Jennings isn't going anywhere. That's the thing.
Well, let's just
Jennings
look
is
at
gonna be starting.
contracts. Just look at contracts.
Yeah.
Juwan Jennings, bottom man there. So, and when Ayuk comes back, who's to say he even looks like him, like the Ayuk that they signed for that massive deal, right? So, I mean, he had a pretty nasty knee injury. Juwan Jennings has done nothing until last year when everybody got hurt. Not that he's not a good receiver or anything. But even with Pearsall and Jennings on the field together last year, it was Pearsall that was out targeting Jennings. So I'm not so much worried about that. I'm fairly confident Pearsall will be in the starting lineup, barring injury for the season. Be something
Fair
at like
enough.
90% snap share.
Fair enough. I will put.
I mean, we can argue it. It's not. I get it. He's
See,
one
I
of my
just think,
guys.
Well,
I
I don't
think
want to
he's
move Pearsall up too high. Pearsall and Jaden Reed to me are the same in the same boat. They're both in offenses that don't play them enough because of the style of player they are.
but these are
And they're
dynasty rankings, right?
yes,
He's got to be ahead of Trey Harris. He's got to be ahead. I mean,
I
that's
can
a
put him ahead of Trey Harris. I'll put him in.
who's
I'll
flip
put him
flop
in
Harris
ahead
and
of.
Pearsall.
I'll
And I'll
put
leave you
him.
alone.
I can do that. That's fair enough.
Or
I
flip
I
him
can
and
I can get
Mr.
on board
Concussion
with
there.
that.
But yeah,
Yeah, I'm more impartial than you. So between Olave and Pearsall, that'd be a real tough. That'd be a real tough call for me if I had to pick one in a startup. I don't know which
I'm
way
glad
I
you
would
said
go
for
there
me.
for me.
For you,
All right,
yeah.
now I put Trey Harris in. Okay, so then we've got Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman back to back in Buffalo. I think that's pretty fair. Keon Coleman's been getting a little bit of steam here. People are remembering what he did that first half of the season last year, where he was more involved and got more variety of targets versus the last half of the season after he came back from injury. They seem to just send him deep, and that's not his game. Like, he isn't a great separator. So if the Bills can get back into giving Coleman more opportunities with a variety of routes and his route tree, then he might get more production. But otherwise, Khalil Shakir, we kind of know what we're getting there. And I think wide receiver 45 is about right where Khalil Shakir slides in. He could easily finish top 30. But that he's always a value. You're grabbing him in rounds 11 or 12 of startups, and we know
And
what
he's
we're
a
getting.
PPR machine. I mean,
Yeah, you know what
especially
you're getting.
if you're drafting early in the draft, right? If you're at like the 101 to the 103, we'll say, and you got Josh Allen,
Yeah.
uh, what a great grab late. What a great stack late in the draft to be able to
Yeah.
produce. I think
Oh,
Shakir's
in underdog drafts, which are the single season best ball format, Khalil Shakir is going way higher because of the fact of if you draft Josh Allen, you're trying to get his quote unquote top target, and that is Khalil Shakir right now. And so
Yep.
Shakir is up in, I think, the seventh round of the best ball format, sixth or seventh round. Yeah, so he's going much higher in those formats, but that's because somebody who drafted Allen early. Obviously, Allen's going as like one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks. So Khalil Shakir's gotten bumped up because of that. All right. So now I notice I have
Shakir,
Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy stuck down here.
Shakir.
We got to move Xavier Worthy up.
Hey, for your
Where?
Shakir, it's Shakir.
Oh yeah. Thank you. I knew we had you in here for something other than telling me that Ricky
Yeah, I mean, I gotta
Pearsall's
bring
gonna
value
blow up.
Hey.
All right. How high?
Actually,
How high do we want to move?
Terrible. He should be off the rankings. No one should draft him.
All right. How high do we want to put Xavier Worthy? Because Xavier Worthy should be. I think Xavier Worthy is probably right here behind Addison. I think that'd be.
I was gonna go. I mean, we talked
Where
about
do
it
you
in the trade show with
Yeah.
Kansas City's offense. I mean, this year's ranking preseason, I probably have him right ahead of Matthew Golden.
Okay. That's fair. I like
yeah.
that. I can do that.
Maybe right behind him, right in that area is probably where I'd put him.
We'll stick him in right
I have
here.
AU further down because he's not gonna play the first few weeks. So I would have him further down, but either which way, yeah, Worthy, that's a good slot in there.
Okay. I gotta spell his first name right though. There we go.
Yes, you do.
There we go. Okay. Now go down here and let's get these numbers correct now. Now that I put him in, I got to change everybody. Okay. So 33. Cup at 38. I don't know that I'd
Yeah,
be
I'm starting
taking
to
him
look more
ahead
at
of. I don't know. I could
that.
move
Stop
Cup
renumbering for a
down.
second and scroll
What's
down
that?
just for. I was gonna say
Yeah.
stop for a second, just scroll down a little bit. Okay, so where Cup is 38.
That's where you want me to put Pearsall.
Well, yeah, but that's. I would probably do like Sutton, Shaheed, Pearsall, and then Reed, Olave, Harris. But that's. We might be off on that Cup ranking. We'll put an asterisk by that.
How about this? I will take Ridley. I like Ridley, so I'm gonna switch Ridley and Cooper Cup. I think Ridley's got a good opportunity with a new quarterback there. Much better quarterback than Will Levis, even if he is a rookie. The rookie's got to latch on to somebody. And I'm not saying he's going to have
The other
a
thing,
Terry
too, is
McLaurin. I'm not saying he's going to have a Terry McLaurin type resurgence, but I mean, Ridley had 1,000 yards last season with
yeah, it wasn't bad. They just
really garbage.
weren't very good people throwing the football. I'll say
Yeah.
this though too,
Yeah.
with Cam Ward, he's earned everything he's gotten thus far in his football career. He's a
Yeah.
hard-working kid. I think he's pretty humbled. So I really like Cam Ward. I don't think he's going to pop this year from a big banging perspective, but I think he's going to be a good quarterback, good solid quarterback that they can build around there in Tennessee. So
All right. And now we can't forget Luther Burden. I'm putting Luther Burden in right here. After the two Buffalo guys. Ahead of Deebo Samuel, though.
yeah, but
I think they're going to be pretty similar type players, Burden and Deebo Samuel.
yeah, from
Burden's
a
just got,
yeah.
from a usage standpoint, and but Burden's got obviously a few years on him there.
Yeah.
So, all right. Then we get down to the bottom of this. So the interesting thing with wide receivers, I mean, we're going here from wide receivers basically 20 through 50 here. These guys, especially in a best ball format, week to week, you are going to have some wide ranging. All of these guys are going to have the chance to drop into your lineup, fall out of the lineup. These are the types of players that are going to get into your lineups about 8 to 10 times a season. They all average 12 to or 10 or 11 to 14 points, somewhere in there. So it's really just a matter of trying to accumulate with quantity these types of guys. All right. So I'm
So I'm
okay
going to
with
make a suggestion here
yeah.
that you're going to put Jacoby Myers where Deebo Samuel is.
Okay. I like that because I still like Jacoby Myers.
Dude, he was good last year with a terrible quarterback and Brock Bowers. Now, I know we got a new coaching staff, probably not going to throw as much, but he's got a better quarterback, stable coaching staff, better than the one prior. And they added some pass catchers, right? They added Jack Besh, the kid from Tennessee. I'm coming up short on his name right now, but I think Jacoby Myers is going to be fine.
Dante Thornton.
Dante Thornton, that's it.
Okay, so we'll put Deebo Samuel in here, right there, which is technically, I got to get back up here and get the right number ranking for these guys. Okay, Coleman is at 47, Burden at 48, Myers at 49, Mims at 50, Mooney at 51, and Deebo at 52. Okay, and now I think we should have another tier break, because I think, yeah, I took out Keenan Allen. I got to make sure I remember him, and now Elijah Moore. But Jalen McMillan just, he seems like the odd man out in the building kind of thing. It's not that he's bad at all. It's just he's going to need an injury to get back to some of the production that he had last season. I know we both like him, but yeah. On Josh Downs, I have to move Josh Downs up.
Josh Downs should be way up.
Yeah, Josh Downs, I'm going to put...
Joshua Downs.
Oh, Josh Downs. Why did I have him so low? Let's see here. Hey, buddy. All right. I'll put Josh Downs right here ahead of Cooper Kupp.
Right.
Now, some of you might have him higher. We have him here because of the uncertainty with the quarterback situation. If Daniel Jones is playing, he's probably going to see a lot better targets than if Anthony Richardson is in there. Still not spectacular, though, from Daniel Jones. So, yeah, he's still going to struggle. Man, do they need a quarterback there in Indianapolis. Those wide receivers are all just completely going to waste, honestly. It's a great wide receiver room, and it's just going, at least from our fantasy perspective, it's really going by the wayside. Okay, so now I know I just eliminated Keenan Allen. We'll put him in here. I think Keenan's still got some game left in him, so depending on where he signs, he could get moved back up. But I think this is a good range for him. Christian Kirk's got his question marks. Michael Pittman, obviously, some question marks. Dontavian Wicks. Ooh. All right, so I took out Romeo Doubs. I think that Doubs is still ahead of Dontavian Wicks. Okay. There we go. All right. So, McMillan up top there now. Keenan Allen, 55. Kirk's 56. Now, we do need to add, you said, Jack Besh, right? I will take Besh over Romeo Doubs. I'll say that. Hold on. I lost you, Matt. You're on mute. There you go.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay.
I have Juwan Jennings up in this range as well, right above.
Oh
Jack
man,
Besh.
where did I have Juwan Jennings? I've forgotten about him. Oh my gosh.
That's what it looks like.
Okay, Juwan Jennings, I would have. All right, I like him right around Mooney,
I like him right behind Myers, maybe even
yeah,
right behind Mims, somewhere in there.
yeah, we'll put him in right here.
And actually, I think 51 is his market ranking, to be honest. It might be right on the money there.
Okay. I think that's how he spells it. He spells it weird.
It's Jauan.
Jau. There we go.
There it is.
Okay, now I gotta change. 52. This tier just keeps getting bigger.
Yeah.
And you can even, I mean, some of these guys in right below this, like I said, Keenan Allen will move up into that tier once he signs somewhere, probably. Michael Pittman, you know, obviously the Colts question mark at quarterback just hinders him tremendously. It's unfortunate but true. Where do we want Kyle Williams? Kyle Williams, right behind Jack Besh. I like him more than Dobbs. I'll say that.
More than who? Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll just
I
plug
like
him
Kyle
in right
Williams
here.
there. And then
Now somebody I haven't had yet is Stephon Diggs too.
that's exactly who I was going to say.
Okay.
That's exactly
Okay,
who
so
I had next on our list.
oh, there he is. I did have him in here at number 60, but I
Yeah.
think he deserves a little bit more love than that. I could put him right behind Debo.
I would, yeah, I'd put him right behind right ahead of Debo maybe because look, he's going to be
Okay.
the wide receiver one in New England to start the year. I mean, look, what was his target share in Houston pre-injury with Nico and Tank Dell? He was still
Right.
getting like a 23% clip there.
Yeah.
Now I given it was an ACL, I get it, but it was a clean tear. So and he's been at camp and running around looking just fine. So I think Stephon Diggs is a really good value, especially if you got Drake May earlier in the startup.
For sure.
And you can get him at such a deep discount, man.
There we go. 59, 60, 61 for Kyle Williams. Okay. Now we've got the uglies. Romeo Dobbs. We got to plug Quentin Johnston in here somewhere. Actually, this is probably a good spot right here. I'll put him in right after.
You've got Rashad Bateman.
I do have Bateman in here a little further down, but we can move him back
I like
up.
Rashad Bateman. There's Jalen Coker. Trying to think of some other dudes around this area that.
Definitely better than Jalen Polk, I'll say that.
Jalen Polk probably shouldn't even be on the list.
Yeah, I'm just eliminating him altogether. Now, Josh Palmer, I like the possibility there. But, yeah, Jalen Coker, I mean, I like Coker more than Xavier Legette. So, there's that. Let's see here.
Then you
I'd
get
like
into
Coker.
Jalen Noel as well. As one of those rookies. Could slide in.
Yeah, I'll put Coker in here after Kyle Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on board. We can put Jalen Noel right here.
Yeah.
I was getting ahead of myself with the team. There we go. Okay. Now, got rid of Diggs. Okay. We want Wan'Dale Robinson a little higher. He actually produces. It's nothing special, but
Yeah, Wan'Dale could be. He should be
he's probably It's ahead
It's
of
probably be
Dobbs.
ahead of Dobbs.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, we'll put him in right here.
Still on there. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, now I gotta fill in the right numbers. Okay. Josh Palmer is interesting. It's just how will he be able to break into that room? We'll see. Hollywood could be interesting, but he probably needs an injury and to stay healthy himself. Then we get into the uglies here.
Well,
Pop
71.
Douglas.
That's probably where I would throw in Rashad Bateman.
Yeah, I
then-
have Bateman. Where do I have? I got him buried here. We got to move him up.
There he is.
There. I forgot about him, and I think I just threw him in. All right. Rashad Bateman will put up.
Right where Jalen Tolbert is. Right.
Yeah, that's fine. Just put him right here. There we go. All right, and then it gets.
And I actually like Pop Douglas where he is there.
Yeah. I mean, you got Butte, Pop Douglas. Who knows who ends up being the guy in New England with the new offense and Josh McDaniels. And Amari Cooper I still want there. Who knows where he ends up. Christian Watson is just tough to evaluate right now.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know when he'll actually be healthy.
And
Still
look,
got
to be
some
honest,
name.
once we get into this area, you can start throwing in rookies like Pat Bryant, Jalen
Yeah.
Royals, like A.O. Manor,
Right.
yeah, Tesla, Horton. That's where these guys start getting thrown into the mix over the next like 15 to 20 spots. So
I'm going to put in Jalen Royals here. I think that's how he spells Jalen. There's too many Jalens, and they all spell it
that's right.
different.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. And we're going to take Troy Franklin out and put Pat Bryant in. I just don't see much of an opportunity now for Troy Franklin, having not done much last year when he had a real chance to do something. Michael Wilson still has a role, so we'll keep him there. Roman Wilson looks like he actually does have a role. Maybe. Juju, who knows? Deontay Johnson,
Yeah, I would say at this point of the rankings, like roll the dice on whoever you feel best about.
Cedric Tillman's somebody I could move up.
I mean,
Tyler
there's some
Lockett
guys in
is-
this area, a lot of rookies and second, third year guys that you can take shots on. But I mean, for the most part, you're taking shots on guys at this point of the
Yeah.
receiver selections. So
Yeah, I'll finish this portion up later. We've gotten in through the majority of the main guys that we wanted to hit on. I think the key is where the tier breaks are, as we mentioned. Tyler Boyd isn't even on a team, so we'll take him off. Von Vele still kind of relevant. Keep him in there. Greg Dortch, sure. Lazard, sure. Now, most of these guys right now are guys that I wouldn't even want to come close to rostering in a lineup league. It's really, these are dudes on your best ball teams that you take shots on the bottom of your roster. Your Andre Yoshivas still
No,
is something.
Devontae Turpin, super great best ball guy to have rostered.
Yep.
He will jump your
Absolutely.
lineup at least once this year.
Now, all
He
of
will get
these
himself
dudes
there.
I can literally take off because they really are going to have a hard time doing anything. As is Luke McCaffrey. But we're going to put in one special guy here. Instead of Luke McCaffrey, we're going to go with Jalen Lane. There we go.
Yeah, that's a good one there.
101. We got to have that one extra.
Yeah, the Mr. Irrelevant.
That's right. There we go. He slides in. Okay. So I've got a few. Don't pay too much attention, folks out there. Once you get to tier 8, I mean, you're literally just grabbing whoever you want. The key is, guys, in this tier 5, you may think this is insane that we have it so big, but the reality is, when you look at it, like Stephon Diggs could easily be producing right with Devontae Adams this year. Okay? It could happen. And that's the point. Like, and Juwan Jennings could too, if he is the only one that stays healthy in that San Francisco room, right? Like you mentioned, Ricky Pearsall, he could jump by starting off the season when Ayuk is not playing. Pearsall could jump to the very top of this tier and even higher. Okay? So I'm not trying to discredit Ricky Pearsall. We haven't seen it on the field yet. He had what, 1 or 2 good games at the end of the year, maybe. So,
Last 2 weeks.
but he's gonna have his opportunity. So we'll see. The reality is when you get into this tier 5, just grab as many guys as you can, especially in best ball. You should grab your running backs in that little tier before these guys in rounds 5, 6, and 7. That way you leave yourself the opportunity to grab these guys that can fluctuate mightily and even pop into the tier above potentially if they have good seasons. This tier 4 though is just more of these guys have all more stable roles set for them. They're just not quite elite, whereas these guys up above them here, this nice tier 3, where you've got a lot of awesome producing players or potential to be elite. I mean, some of these guys could jump into the top 10 for Dynasty. Actually, all of these guys could. Yes, all of these guys could. I don't know that A.J. Brown will, but he can produce at a top 5 level for sure.
Correct.
So that's where he slides in now. But yeah, anything else just in general about the wide receivers that you want to touch on quick?
I mean, I think it's important for any of our viewers and listeners to understand is we target those receivers early and often, especially in our best ball formats. I want receivers in my first 3 picks. It doesn't matter if I'm picking twice in the second or first and the second. I want receivers in my first 3 picks. It's just what I want. And sometimes I stray off course depending on what the board throws at me, but that's pretty much what I go after. And after that, it's, get a couple other pieces and then right back to focusing, like Chris said, on receivers in those following rounds. That's all I've got on that. Early and often.
Yeah, now why do we do that? Why do we want to get 3 receivers in the first 4 rounds, say? Because of the value that's there at running back in rounds 5, 6, and 7. You could go young. You could go Travion Henderson or R.J. Harvey, or you could go old and grab Christian McCaffrey or Derrick Henry. It doesn't matter. But the fact is that if you've already grabbed Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs or Omarion Hampton or whatever, then you're stuck with, hey, I got to get some wide receivers here, and then you're not getting the wide receivers that you get in rounds 5, 6, and 7 aren't that much different than the wide receivers you're going to get in this huge clump of tier of 25 guys that we've got here. 26, 20, 27 receivers that we have in tier 5.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that because, like I said, you know, Tyreek Hill is down here. Jaden Higgins could explode. All of these guys, they can easily fill the void of, you know, these wide receivers in tier 4. So it's not as important to grab one of these guys in tier 4. Now they're still in tier 4 for good reason because some of these guys do fall. Jamison Williams might still be going in round 7 or 8 of your draft. Jordan Addison could fall down there. So that's why you still want to have these rankings and see and grab the value if it's there, but don't reach on them is my point. Don't be reaching on them because there is plenty of dudes down here
Exactly.
up until tier 6 where you can count on them having a role and getting good production from them, barring injury. So, yeah, that I think might do it for the wide receivers. Just keep in mind best ball versus lineup. It makes a difference. Lineup, you want to narrow down your wide receivers that you roster, ideally as many near the top as possible. And then best ball, you can do it 2 ways. You can get your 3 wide receivers early if you don't go that route because you saw value elsewhere, like you went dual quarterback right off the bat for some reason, or you went Brock Bowers and then Drake May, right? Well, then maybe you are waiting on your wide receivers, and then you have to just hammer those wide receivers in that tier 5 that we were talking about, and you have to get as many as possible, and you can win that way in best ball as well. It's just it's a little more difficult, I guess, when you grab the first 3 wide receivers with 3 out of your first 4 picks. It's much easier to build a team, at least I've found, especially the way the draft board is set right now and the way the players are falling onto it for me. Yeah.
Yep.
So, anything else?
Couldn't
Final
agree
thought
more.
you want to add, Matt? Other than Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver 1?
Nope. I like my Ricky Pearsall wide receiver 1 argument.
Hey, DK Metcalf's going to be wide receiver 1 too. He's got Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball, you know. All right. So there's our up-to-date wide receiver rankings. Be sure to smash the like and subscribe and give us any questions you have on your wide receivers. Wide receivers are extremely important position in Dynasty, probably the most important position. It can change your season in a flash. These guys move up and down the rankings pretty liberally in the middle-ish range. But up at the top, the top 10 or so wide receivers, they tend to hold their value pretty well, even better than quarterbacks in some cases. So you look at last year's quarterbacks, and you got Anthony Richardson, who's going way down around 10 now. And last year everybody was clamoring after him in the round 1. So you can see that same thing happened to Justin Fields. Same thing happened to Trey Lance. So you kind of see a little there's kind of something happening there. It's the same profile quarterback that's doing that. But when you hit on them, you get Jaden Daniels. So yeah, who knows? Is Jalen Milroe going to be that guy that turns into Jalen Hurts or not? We don't know how good Sammy Ballgame out there, Sam Darnold, will do in Seattle. And, he did sign a 3-year contract, but it essentially really is just a 1-year deal. They have an out right after the first year.
Yeah.
So that's something to watch for if you do take JSN or Cooper Kupp, or even Torrey Horton, whom we forgot. Torrey Horton's another name we forgot to throw in there. He could go slide right in near the bottom, a good flyer wide receiver for you in your best ball drafts. So, all right. With that,
Absolutely.
want to remind you, join the Patreon, just $3 a month, patreon.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. You can get all of these updated rankings and more. You get the chat forum. You get to see the rookie rankings, all of that in the Birdhouse Dynasty Show Patreon. You can also buy me a coffee, buymeacoffee.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. And don't forget, anybody joining right now in the Patreon, you will get a free roster review, something which Matt and I will get to at some point shortly. We've got a couple more yet to do, and that'll be some more fun. So with that, I want to thank you for joining today, and remember, never stop working.